Hello friends, this is Keith. Thanks for joining me at the Solo Gamers Club. Tonight I'm going to discuss my ongoing efforts to create a campaign system for Last Night on Earth, the zombie game. My veteran viewers of the channel know that I've been working to develop a campaign system for the game that will create a framework to link multiple scenarios into a fun and interesting story. In tonight's video, I'd like to show you some of the things that I've come up with recently. This campaign system is intended to work hand in hand with my Last Night on Earth solo system, which creates a standardized method for running the game Solitaire. This campaign system includes a campaign map, travel events table, a campaign tracker, and rules to govern actions that take place in between scenarios. I've gone through various machinations of the system, and I've decided to go with a much more streamlined approach. Let's begin by taking a look at the campaign map. This is just a preliminary map that I put together. The finalized one will be a little larger than this and on a little bit better quality print paper. Basically, this is taking place in northern Wisconsin, similar to the region that I had in my previous campaign. I've entitled this Last Night on Earth, the zombie game, Ashland County, Wisconsin, and I'm setting this in 1983. I selected this area for the campaign as quite a few years ago when I was in my working days. We were contracted out to assist a logging company with some surveying work. And I became very enamored with this region, and I've decided to set it a little north of where I was actually working, but on the shore of Lake Superior. And I have to say that part of the area that I was in for this surveying work is kind of spooky. It's so remote, and it almost gives you some type of a supernatural vibe to it. And I can't quite explain it, but that's kind of what I walked away from after we completed the work. The squares on the map represent various towns and cities in the area. The green represent state and national forests. The gold color represent various logging communities, and the purple represent Native American reservations. Each of those squares is connected by some type of roads. The red ones are paved highways, the gold solid are gravel roads, and the dashed are logging trails. The white dots are going to represent waypoints, and that will divide those connection lines into one or more segments. Movement on the campaign map will be broken into two different types. We can either be on foot or we can use vehicle movement if we possess a vehicle. Movement on foot is obviously going to be slower. Our base speed is going to be one segment per campaign round. Has advantages. It has a stealth advantage. When we're on foot, we can ignore many of the different types of travel events, such as roads being washed away or abandoned vehicles blocking the highways, etc. Vehicle movement is going to be obviously quicker. We're going to be able to travel farther per turn, but we have to be able to have gasoline to expend in order to use that vehicle. And some vehicles will have problems navigating these logging trails. And I can tell you from personal experience, those logging trails with anything except a logging truck are extremely tough to navigate. Once we decide on a travel path, we're going to make a roll on this travel events table. This is a D100 table, and it has basic things that you might encounter during the zombie apocalypse. And we would roll on that table and resolve that prior to starting our next scenario. As a part of that travel on the campaign map, it's possible we could have random encounters. And I've divided those into 3 different types: zombie encounters, wild animal encounters, and bad stranger encounters, unfriendlies. The object of the campaign is obviously to survive the zombie apocalypse. And we can win the campaign by successfully navigating the map and locating one of 3 possible extraction points and completing that final scenario to escape the area and win the campaign. Heroes can lose the campaign if the dread track ever reaches 10, or our hero roster is completely wiped out. If we've gone through all of our available heroes and we haven't completed the campaign, we lose. Now, depending upon if we win or lose our scenario that we're going to be playing, there will be an impact on that. If we can win, we're going to be able to secure the area, and we would mark that as a safe location. And the heroes can rest there with low probability of encountering wild wandering zombies. We would also push back the dead, and we would decrease the dread track by 1. And finally, we would get a draw from the bag, which would give us some resources or information. In the campaign game, we're going to be using basically 4 basic resources. Those will include gasoline, ammunition, medicine, and food. A 5th one is green cubes, and those will indicate information. Those will lead us to our campaign victory in attempting to find that extraction location. Going hand in hand with this campaign system is my solitaire system. And this basically is a way to codify a solitaire playing of the game. We're going to begin the setup by randomly determining our starting scenario by consulting a table. In this table, I've selected scenarios that fit the narrative of the beginning of a campaign, such as it fell from the sky, broken down, lost in the woods, etc. This will provide us with the opening scenario and a starting location on the campaign map. Then once we have our starting scenario, we will go through our solo setup procedure. And basically this procedure is going to determine our starting characters, the board layout for the first scenario, and the preparation of our hero and zombie decks, including the zombie fight deck. After completing a scenario, the heroes will decide on a travel path, and then we'll roll for travel events and begin another scenario in the new location. Heroes may find resources along the way, which include gasoline, ammo, medicine, and food. These resources are used when traveling across the map in a vehicle, aiding in travel events, healing wounded or infected characters, and preventing wounds due to hunger. To begin the setup of the campaign map, we're going to be taking 4 cubes of each of the colors that I had designated before. We're going to place them into a draw bag, and then we're going to randomly place, by drawing out of a bag, 1 token of each kind in each of the square locations. And those are going to be resources that the heroes will know that they can acquire by traveling to that area. Okay, so we've randomly placed these cubes on the various locations on the map, and this gives the team an incentive to travel to that area for whatever commodity they might need. Then we're going to construct our campaign resource bag. That's going to consist of 5 yellow, 5 blue, 3 red, 6 orange or brown, and 3 green. We're going to place these into the bag, and that will form our draw pool when we're instructed to draw a resource, we will draw one from the bag. And what we're hoping to find are one or more of these green cubes. That's going to give us our information as to where the extraction point is located. And if we can move to that location and complete the scenario with some prerequisites, we can win the campaign. Now, the campaign turn sequence that I developed consists of basically 4 steps, and that will compose a game round. We're going to begin with a dread track roll. We're going to roll a d6, and on a 1 or 2, the dread track is going to move up by 1. If the track ever reaches 10, the campaign immediately ends at a player loss. The dread track is divided into 10 spaces. It's going to start the campaign at 1. If it ever reaches 10, we'll lose the campaign. And this is going to represent the aggressiveness of the zombie hordes and the overall level of their control over Ashland County. As it moves up, when we move, say, into from levels 1 to 3, there is no effect. It's a standard rules. But once we reach 4, 5, and 6, the horde is going to grow. Maximum zombie pool on the board is permanently increased by 2. So instead of having 14 zombies in the pool, we would have 16. Then once it reaches levels 7 through 9, the zombie player will draw an extra zombie card at the start of every scenario. So instead of drawing 3 cards like we have in our solitaire rules, for the first turn they would draw 4. It gives them a slight advantage. And then finally, of course, level 10 is the end times, and that will lose us the game. Step 2 of the turn sequence is when we select a travel path and move along the selected track or tracks according to the movement rules. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the campaign movement system is very simple. We're either going to be on foot or in a vehicle. And then based upon the type of travel line we're going to be using, it will tell us the speed at which we would be either on foot or with a vehicle. Obviously, on a highway, vehicle can make better time than on foot. Logging trails are a problem, and when a vehicle tries to move on them, their speed is down to 2, and they're going to have to roll to see if that vehicle is permanently abandoned. Step 3 of the sequence is we would consult the travel events chart, and we're going to roll once for each space that we moved into during the current turn, resolving the indicated events as required. So in the case of this situation, we'll say that we started the campaign in the town of Butternut, and we'll say that we won that campaign. Well, we don't have a vehicle at this point, so we have one movement point. We'll say that we want to move to Iron River. We'll be using the highway there, and we would make a roll on our travel events table and resolve that travel sequence. Once we arrive into Iron River, we would be able to take that supply token, whatever it is, and then we would make a roll on a table to determine what the next scenario that we have to execute will be. And that'll be based on the terrain, whether it's a city, a lumber area, or a forest. And so what I've done is I've created 3 separate D100 tables for towns, forests, and mining and timber regions. We'd make a roll on the table that will tell us what mission we have to execute. These have been basically, as best as I could, I've compiled those into scenarios that would be thematic to that type of region. Now, in the event that our survivors have some type of encounter while on the road in between scenarios, I've developed this random encounter mechanic. It's very simple, and I didn't want to overcomplicate this. But I still think it would be fun and kind of exciting to resolve these encounters. I've basically divided them between zombie encounters, wild animal encounters, and unfriendlies. And what we would do is we would get a 1d6 for each unwounded hero that is in the squad, minimum of 1 die. And then any rolling, any die rollings of 4, 5, or 6 would be successes. And then we would get weapon bonuses. Any hero equipped with a gun or melee weapon will score successes on 3+ instead of 4+. Then we would cross-reference our total number of successes with the specific enemy and determine the immediate fallout. So if we encountered, say, zombies on the road and we were able to get 1 success, it would be a desperate brawl. You put them down, but it was ugly. A random hero takes a wound. Say we encountered a pack of wild animals, wolves, and say we ended up getting 3 successes, and we would be listed as apex hunters. You eliminate the threat before they even get close. If you have an edged weapon, a knife or axe, you can skin and harvest the animal, gain 2 food. So there's kind of built in quite a bit of the theme of what I'm kind of intending into these tables. And each type of enemy has its own little nuances. As an example, wild animals, ranged advantage. Each hero with a gun can re-roll any 1 die in the combat pool that failed to score success. Or if you've got against unfriendlies, under fire, it says because those enemies shoot back, if you roll 0 successes, the encounter is a catastrophe, killing the entire party and ending the game. Now that's going to be unlikely, but it could happen. So I've kind of tailored these based upon the type of encounter and a little bit of thematic mechanics in there, depending upon the type that we would be opposing. And then finally, our 4th step is if we're in a new location, we could take any available resource there, and then we would consult that appropriate scenario chart and determine our next scenario to be played. That's kind of how I'm intending this campaign travel system to work. So that's going to wrap up this impromptu preview of my new campaign system for Last Night on Earth. In the next video, I'm going to begin a new campaign, and I'll show the viewers how we set up the campaign and scenario elements for a solitaire version campaign of Last Night on Earth. In that video, I'm going to be evaluating the mechanics that I've developed for this, and we'll make any appropriate changes that we feel are necessary. So I hope you enjoyed this quick look at what I'm working on for Last Night on Earth. I look forward to seeing you in the next video where we're going to start our new campaign of Last Night on Earth, the campaign game. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on the channel. Have a good night, everyone.